Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
A little tired. How are you?
I'm pretty tired. Long week.
Oh, yeah. Pretty busy.
Yeah, busy. I don't have anything going on.
I don't either. I work all the time now, so that's pretty much it.
Work, home. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going out of town next weekend, though.
Renaissance Fair. Yeah, I think the Renaissance Fair will be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun, too. Just being able to hang out. I'm a little nervous about leaving my baby behind for an overnight trip. Never done that before.
First big trip without her.
I know, it's giving me anxiety.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that'll be fun though. If I can get there and get in like the swing and hanging out and all that good stuff, it'll be fun. Just,
Get intoxicated.
Have a few drinks. Yeah, not gonna lie, looking forward to that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it should just be fun, just to hang out with everybody. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't do anything except work and come home, hang out with my kids. They're awesome, but that's really all I do.
Working home.
Working home.
Yep.
That's the story of my life.
Same.
And it ain't a bad life. Not at all. Anyway, so...
Awkward pause. Some crickets in there.
Crickets. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Sarah.
This is Books, Booze,
and Besties.
So this week we are discussing Perfect Strangers. So I did notice that I listened to our last episode and I said JT Geissinger. It's for sure not that at all. We really need to check our shit before we say things.
Yeah.
It's JT Geissinger. Geissinger. Okay. So I said it way wrong.
I Googled it.
I added a man to the end. I don't know even where that came from. So, JT Geissinger.
Close enough.
Okay, cool. So that's what we're going over today. I'm going to add a little synopsis of our book. Even though if you're listening to this, you've more than likely probably read it, but we still want to go ahead and we're going to start just adding in the little synopsis in the beginning. So, author Olivia Rossi hasn't been able to write a word since tragedy struck 2 years ago and ripped her world apart. Heartbroken and still haunted by the past, she accepts an offer to spend the summer at a friend's apartment in Paris in search of healing and her lost muse. What she finds instead is James, an enigmatic stranger who ignites in her an unexpected and all-consuming passion. Agreeing to tell each other nothing more than their first names, Olivia and James embark on a torrid affair. But the more time they spend together, the more Olivia begins to realize her summer fling is turning into a powerful connection, and the magnetic man she's falling in love with might not be what he seems at all. Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Let's dig in, Sarah.
Well, really quick, let's add in what our drink of the week is.
Oh, yeah. I always forget.
This week we're doing, they're technically bourbon whiskey sours.
This girl in this book drinks a ton of bourbon.
Which I don't know how she just downs it like it's nothing. I mean, if she's doing shots, sure, but she gets like I don't know. She's rough. She's an alcoholic.
Right? That's where my thought was like, I'm like, so this lady drinks bourbon.
I know, we were trying to
Lots
decide.
of bourbon.
We were literally messaging about it today, and we were like, so I guess it's going to be bourbon. And I was like, yeah, but it's got to have a twist on it.
Yeah, there's no way. We're not just going to down a bunch of bourbon.
Not on air anyways.
Not like that. She just is like, I'm just going to take a few shots of bourbon or
anytime
drink
she
and take a swig.
Slightly feels any kind of emotion. Give me some bourbon.
Yeah, so red flag, trigger warning, alcoholism.
Yes, alcoholism. There is
death of her child.
Yes, so there's some death, alcoholism, trauma.
Yeah, trauma. She ends up having ALS.
War crimes. I mean, like, affected by war, too, because kind of, like the story, because it's talking about, like, a lot of people being affected by...
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Gun violence. There's a little bit of gun violence. I guess kind of the stuff with Gigi.
Faking you out.
Well, and there's Gigi and Gaspard. I mean, I guess for some people that would be kind of like a...
She's in a... I know you're talking about, like, them having sex.
Yeah, that's, like, unwanted for some people, I'm sure. So I don't know how you would warn that. I don't want to say, like...
I don't know. Like, they're forcing their sex upon her ears.
Right. Well, I mean, even some people can see it depending on what side of the building they're on.
That's
so
true.
It's public display.
Yeah. I would think so. Also, I just had something. Oh, yeah. She is actually in a mental institution.
Yes. So, institutionalization.
Yeah, so there's that.
Mental health is a big part of this. There's mention of depression, anxiety.
Obviously, trauma, like we said before. I guess
a little bit of everything.
Yeah. If we come across something, that we forgot, we'll mention it. So, yeah, let's dive in.
Okay.
So, what do you think?
I don't know. I think with this book, I learned that maybe my tastes are changing. Maybe I'm not as much of a smut as I used to be.
Yeah. Or maybe there was just too much.
Probably a little bit of both. I could just, like, from the very first, like, sex scene, I was like, oh, okay. I think I've kind of maybe transitioned more into, like, the mystery and horror and stuff. I mean, like, I still got reeled in. Like, there were still some things that pulled me in, but I don't think I'm as much of a smut as I used to be.
I love a good romance, and I don't mind some smut, but I don't want to read a book that is nothing but smut.
Which was their whole relationship.
For real. Like, there was no point where I felt like, how are they falling in love? They didn't even know each other.
Well, and, like, that's the thing. It's, like, it's supposed to be all about this summer fling, nothing but sex, nothing personal. But then you talk about, like, the electricity and stuff you feel. Like, that's not a fling. You're trying to mention that you guys want more, and occasionally will bring up personal lives. But then it's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Right. So, how do you love someone that you don't know anything personal about? And I mean, I get feeling a connection with someone, especially if you're having the kind of sex they're having. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jesus. But never at any point I was like, they're falling in love. It could have went that way had there been more depth and, other than them having sex.
Well, I mean, like, they made it sound like it was supposed to be this intense thing, and then it's like the first time they get sexual, he's gone for 3 days. And then they come back, and it's like just things pop up. But it's supposed to last until, like, September. But really, everything that happened, like, the majority of the book happens in, like, a week.
Yeah, like, it's just, he left for 3 days. He came back. Then, I mean, I think they get it on.
Yeah, like, they meet the day she arrives.
Yeah.
Then the next day is the party, honoring him. The next day is their date where they first have the sexual encounter. He's gone for 3 days. They come back, do the sex, and then...
They do the sex.
Chris shows up, and all of that. I mean, it's literally like a week and a half, maybe.
Yeah, like, it's next to nothing, and... I just never felt like they're really falling in love.
This feels more like a sexual relationship than a emotional, like, on a personal level relationship.
Yeah, and I think it was just supposed to be like, everything's just so intense. They can stare at each other into oblivion.
Which is also super awkward. I don't know how often you stare at people. Even my own husband, I'm not going to stare at him into oblivion. That's awkward.
You don't look at each other from across the room.
Unless you're disassociating. Then it's... Not the
Like,
same thing.
my husband's like, what are you staring at? I'm like, oh, nothing. I zoned out. That's really, not that we don't ever make eye contact, but we're never just ablaze in a room full of people.
We're not staring so hard for so long that someone else is like, what the fuck are you doing?
We forgot to bring up characters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's Estelle, who I'm pretty sure they plucked right from the Friends.
Oh my god, that's what I was gonna say. That's literally Joey's agent.
Yes, and she calls her doll, and
has the hair, smokes,
yes,
knows everybody, even though you wouldn't think she does.
Yeah, it was just like I was like, first thing I was like, is this Estelle from? Is this Joey's agent?
Literally what
agent?
I was thinking.
See, we do not talk all week about this book. We save everything for right now when we're meeting. We sat together earlier. We ate. We had a drink. We wouldn't even allow ourselves to talk about it because we're like, we have to save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is our first time. But yeah, I was like, I mean, this is copyrighted, like, to Friends.
Which is so funny because there's a part in the book where she's like, yeah, you can add that. It won't copyright The Matrix.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you plucked Estelle from Friends. And Kelly is that stereotypical dumb blonde friend.
Yeah. You could have even gave Estelle, like, a different name. Anything.
It's just, I don't know.
And they live in New York.
Like, this thing is kind of basic. And they, like, mention 50 Shades of Grey directly, and The Matrix, and they pulled Estelle. It's almost like nothing against J.T. Geissinger. Maybe the author has some pretty banger books, but this just felt like a lot of things were pulled from already existing things instead of being unique.
And I was actually really looking forward to this. And I'm not saying that I didn't like it.
Right.
I feel like we tear books down a lot. But I'm not saying I didn't like it. I enjoyed reading it. And I actually, before we had even decided on it, I would watch TikToks because people were posting about it and were like, WTF.
Well, and I'm going to just add in, like, hidden pictures. Like, I'm the one that recommended that. And I know when I was showing it to you, I did the same thing with, like, hear people talking about it on TikTok. It sounds really good. And then it's not what you expect.
Exactly. People were like, which it was true. There was plot twists.
Yes.
There were twists and turns.
Which I'm going to be honest, like, as silly as the plot twist was, the first plot twist, not the second one, the one with James. That's the part that, like, had me, like, I caught myself, like, skimming and even skipping over a lot of the sex scenes. But, like, once I found out that plot twist with James and Chris, like, that's where I was, like, reading every single word on the page.
Same.
As silly as it was.
Right, no.
That's where I got hooked, and that's literally, like, the last 60 pages, so.
Yeah, I mean, I started skimming over the sex scenes because I was like, they were kind of repetitive. And it was, some books you'll have a sex scene, and then it'll later on, like, allude to, like, they're going to have sex or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't explicitly go into detail every single time because honestly, I don't care enough to read about it every single time. But this did not do that. I felt like it went explicitly into detail every single time.
Well, and two big things that kind of turned me off of the book. Some of the wording just got on my nerves. Like, I get it. Okay, three things. I think in the beginning, one of the things that was hard for me to get hooked is I'm 24. I still look at myself as young. Like, I literally mentally feel like 18, 19 years old, and this is a middle-aged woman. So it was really hard for me to connect there, too, because she's constantly bringing up, I'm 40, blah, 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 blah. So it was hard for me to really get invested in the beginning with that. The second thing that really got me is the wording. A lot of the wording just got on my nerves. Like, I'm not going to be pulled in if you're literally calling your lady parts your loin. Wow, that's a turn on.
Can I just be blunt here? I don't like the word pussy.
Yeah, that got me too. Like coochie and vagina, call it whatever, but like I feel like that's a little crude because not only is it like a word for your vagina, it's also like you're a pussy. So like it's such a demeaning thing.
Yeah, I've never been a fan. I don't really know, like, I don't know. I would have to go back and like look again at other books I've read, but he was constantly saying like pussy, and it just, like,
Well, and he always
I
called.
didn't like it.
He kept calling her sweetheart too, and I was like, I don't know where you're from, but sweetheart here is like a 67-year-old woman calling a little kid sweetheart.
Sweetheart.
That's not a hot nickname. That's fucking grandma
And
term.
it was, he said it, she had him saying it like every 2 seconds. I was like, say sweetheart one more time.
It was no, I couldn't. And then the third thing that got me, which I mean, they referenced 50 Shades of Grey and all the sex and stuff in there, but even if you look at 50 Shades of Grey, she's a newbie to all this sex stuff. And even some of it, she's like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, it's a turn off. I don't want to try that. In this book, Olivia's like, no, I don't like spanking. And then she literally gets off on it, which I don't know about you, but someone smacking my vagina is not going to get me off. But, like, it's like, no, I haven't tried all these things. I'm a super vanilla person. And then anything that's suggested, I mean, half the time he doesn't even ask her if she wants to do it. He just goes for it.
Yeah.
A little creepy. Also, as open as Gigi and Gaspard are, I feel like it's an invasion of privacy if you're literally having sex to them having sex. It's a little awkward.
Yeah, the sex in this book made me blush a little bit, even though I've read a lot. You know, I read 50 Shades of Grey. That was, like we said before, that was my introduction to smut.
I feel like that was more realistic than this, though. I mean, let me just smack your vagina a couple times.
And that was... I don't know. But technically, that was a book. So.
What?
The beginning, you know.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, I get what you mean now. But still, like.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to draw her own readers in? Oh, my God.
Yeah. I just don't know. Like, I felt like it was, you know, obviously it was broken up into 3 different parts, or how many of our different parts. But
which I feel like the separation from part 1 and part 2 didn't make as much sense. Like bringing in part 3, and I think there's a part 4. Like the split makes sense. The part 1 to part 2 in this doesn't make as much sense because the part 1 is just her meeting James and agreeing to, which I felt was weird too, agreeing to sit for a portrait, meaning let's have a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
And then
I guess that was supposed to be like them staring at each other some more intensely.
And then they start the relationship. I don't feel like there needed to be a separation in parts of the book for that.
No. I think, honestly, the separation, or the, you know, part 1 and then part 2 should have been where she ends up in the mental institution.
Well, I mean, even part 2 could have been when you find out James's true identity, and Chris's even.
Yeah.
But part 1 to part 2 didn't make sense for there to be a transition there. I think it was just JT's way of adding in another Hemingway quote to compare James's character to Hemingway.
Yeah, I could see that.
But yeah, that didn't make sense to me. Also, the way Olivia's character in this book describes James, like, he sounds like a brooding, mysterious person. But not in the way that he would turn out to be a secret spy at the end.
No. I pictured, like, Fabio. Do you know who Fabio is? Okay, I was just making sure.
I pictured that stereotypical douchey guy that knows he's hot. I did not picture the stereotypical contract killer. I mean, like, I kind of suspected that's where it was going. Just the way she hinted, the change in emotions, but...
The change in emotions, him and Chris behaving the way they were.
I felt like it was a little forced, and the amount of lying in this gets on my nerves because she straight up was like, don't lie to me, and then he continuously lies to her.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but I didn't lie because I worded it this way. Well, no, that's just fucking annoying.
Yeah, that's still lying. That's lying by omission. And also... She kept saying, like, well, I don't know how we're going to, you know, I'm not going to be able to be with him after this. And then he brought back the guy's head, and she was like, "Oh, I'm for sure gonna be with him. Let's go make a
Also, that
baby."
whole scene was so stupid. Like, you literally spread out a week of a relationship over 200 and something pages, and then you spend the rest of the summer with him at his wonderful house
His
in the
perfect
countryside of France, and he literally, quote unquote, says, "Honey, I'm home," with a dead person's head in a bag. It was so stupid.
Which, I mean, still though, like, I'm like, and one part of me is like, well, it's supposed to be a book. It's supposed to be her book. But to get it, like, I also paid for this book.
But like
That is not really a book. Or
like,
it is a double book.
But
I
like
don't
in
know.
that moment, you don't know it's a book. You feel like it's just something stupid happening.
Well, that's why I was like, this is weird. It like went from a crazy sexual relationship to her finding out he's an assassin to I can't be with him. He's lied to me. He kills people for a living.
Then he kills my daughter's killer, and now I want to have his baby.
Yeah. To I can't be with a killer. Mm-hmm. He kills people, but then he just is like, "Oh, didn't you notice? I quit my job."
Yeah, that whole thing is stupid. Like, they literally make the Olivia character out to be an idiot, basically, because it's like literally. In 2 pages, it's like, you didn't notice this and this. You must be stupid.
Yeah. Didn't you notice I quit my job? I haven't been using that phone anymore. And it was like, what? I'm so confused. And then you realize, like, it's all bullshit.
Well, and before we even talk about it all being bullshit, as a therapist, I'm like, having a baby does not fix your problems, and that's kind of what it feels like. This doesn't feel like, oh, I'm ready to have a family with you. This feels like I've got a lot of trauma from losing my child, and we got a whole lot of baggage with us, so let's accidentally get pregnant, and that changed our entire lives.
Yeah.
It sounds like the stereotypical couple that's not working out and then chooses to have a baby because that's magically going to fix everything.
Yeah, we're just going to move forward and we're going to quote unquote be in love.
Like, how do you just magically get over the loss of your daughter when that's been the biggest thing for you?
That guy's head was in their backyard. I mean,
I feel like that would cause even more trauma because, like, revenge does not ever make you feel better. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's just not going to make you feel better.
True. And then he was patching up her hole, so.
Literally. But it's like every time she's going to think about her daughter, she's going to be like, well, her killer's head is in my backyard, but also that means that my now, boo thing is also a killer, which I couldn't stand for a whole 24 hours, but now I'm having his baby. James Jr. Jimmy Jr.
Yeah, he said James Jr. and I was like, oh Lord.
Oh, that part pissed me off too. He's like, so I guess I should tell you my real name, and then the next scene they're still calling him James.
I thought that too. I was like, what was his real name?
I guess James. Who fucking knows?
He never even said like, well, yeah, that's so that my real name is. I guess they just were like, we'll just stick with James, even though she made everybody think that they had broken up.
Which is also stupid.
How are you going to explain that baby?
Were you just going to, like, not be an author anymore? Are you just going to not go back to America?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
I mean, because she technically did tell them, I'm going to stay here forever. But, like, people are going to think that...
Yeah.
I mean, us being us and being into true crime and stuff, if my friend says, oh, yeah, I moved to this little fishing town and I'm never coming back, I'm going to be like, you're being held hostage. This is fake. I'm calling the police.
Yeah. And also, I met this guy who was kind of suspicious, but he's out of the picture now, but I'm going to stay here and I'm never coming home. I'm going to be like, also, red flags all over the place.
Her best friend's husband is an FBI agent. So, like, why isn't her best friend like, red flags?
Yeah. So when she gives birth, in 9 months or whatever.
To Jimmy Jr.
To James Jr., it's going to be at a hospital and her best friend, FBI husband, can look it up and be like, she had a baby. James
also,
Jr.
I feel like
Jimbo.
I feel like it was so
Jimothy.
shitty. I mean, like, it makes sense because you finally learn that it's all a book, but like for the disease that's picked in that moment when I didn't know it was all for the book, James picked ALS, which is such a serious thing. Like it's such a thing. Like it's impacts so many people. Like it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And like in that moment you don't know why. So you think, wow, he's kind of an asshole for him to just use that to die off in 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So, yeah. Then we discover.
Oh, I remembered one more thing. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, go ahead.
I'm just being nitpicky because the plot twist in this book pissed me off. That's it. That's why I'm being nitpicky. But they keep talking about Olivia being so smart and having these master's degrees, and then, like, they constantly point out how she's stupid. Like, why? Like, James is always correcting her, being like, you said that wrong, or you got this wrong, or you didn't know
makes
this.
her mad.
Or she's literally like, I know he's not speaking German. I don't know how to speak it, but I know that's not German. That just makes you sound stupid, girl.
Yeah.
Also, you went to France and you don't know basic French, or like you don't pull out your... I mean, like, they make it sound like it's in 2020 or whatever. Pull out your phone.
Yeah.
Google Translate.
You got that bougie phone now. Look up some words.
It just pissed me off because her character was like, all feminism, I'm super educated, and then every other chapter is like, here's how you're stupid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. She was like, I'm a feminist. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm a feminist, but spank my pussy. Just saying.
I just hate that word. It's so cringy. It's just so cringy. I don't know.
Also, if a guy and I are like going at it, and guy, I mean my husband.
I was saying, what guy?
If me and my husband are going at it and he's like, tell me, no, say it or I'm going to stop. And be like, that's fucking stupid. Don't talk to me like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want you to talk about my pussy.
Stop saying it.
Ugh. Leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I'm sure it does his too.
Oh my gosh. It's so naughty. We're being so extra tonight.
I got the jokes. It's because it's a smut book. That's what happens when it's smut. What else are you supposed to talk about?
It's true. It was super smutty.
Yes.
So, plot twist. It was all bullshit.
Yeah, she's actually... Which I think is a little silly too. I'm not trying to downplay mental illness. Not trying to downplay physical illness with ALS, but basically they're like, oh, you had a psychotic break and you also have ALS, but you don't know because you've been in a coma for like 3 months.
A psychotic state or a...
Right. Like, she's aware enough that she's using the things around her to build a scenario in her head, but she's not aware enough to remember that she accidentally killed her own daughter and has ALS.
And her husband's a trash bag.
Yes. Like, she doesn't even know the state of her relationship with her husband when he shows up.
Yeah. He's a huge twat waffle.
I mean, there's a part in the book where she's literally about to die, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna sell the house as soon as she's... Oops, she's right there. ...
Like, she's not in the same place every day. I'm not laughing at the disease. I'm just saying, like...
He literally put her there because he didn't want to listen to her CPAP machine when she was sleeping.
Yeah, her ventilator.
Oh, her ventilator.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like the plot twist... I mean, while it was a good plot twist for a book, like, if, you know, like, it's like, oh, I woke up and...
So I did feel sad for her.
Yes.
Because I was trying to imagine, like, if I'm crazy in love with my husband. And I was trying to imagine, like, what if I woke up and I couldn't, and he wasn't real, and my kids weren't real, and I couldn't touch them or feel them or nothing, and it was all just in my head. And it made me feel devastated, obviously, and just totally crushed. And I tried to relate to it in that capacity. So I did try and relate to that part of the book. And her feelings and how she,
right.
was doing. And I was like, heck yeah, I would definitely try to go back into the state that I was in if it meant that I could be with my family or be with my husband. And so, that part did make me feel sad for her.
I feel like that just all of that was so fucked. Her husband did not care about her. She was aware of that. and she still got sent home with him. Like, she just give her the care she needs and let her be where it's best for her.
Especially, like, the first night she was home, he left her in a soiled diaper. I was like, oh my God, that's so sad. You go from this beautiful state of thinking you're in love, you are functioning adult, you're healthy, vibrant, and you've got this gorgeous man who is perfect in a lot of ways. And then you come back to the reality of having a husband. Reality. Yeah.
Eminem.
Having a, don't copyright. We know it's not our work.
Well, I didn't rap it.
And then she comes back to this reality where her husband hates her and he doesn't want to take care of her.
Like, why even come back into the picture? Like, they would not have sent Olivia home with him if he would have just stayed gone.
Yeah, like, why did he even show back up?
I think he wanted the money, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
she probably had life insurance.
He wanted the money, and then she published that book, and he's like, well, I'm just going to stick around because I'm going to get that money, too.
Yeah, I thought that, too. I was like, oh, they needed to figure out what was going to happen to that money.
Also, I'm not being, I'm not anti-mechanics. That's a good job. Everybody needs help with cars and getting them fixed. But I don't know what mechanic has insurance that pays for 24-hour care. Like, that's just...
Right.
Even, like...
That's like high-end health insurance.
Like, even like Medicaid's not going to pay for 24-hour a day care.
No. Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, I'm sorry.
Like, there's just,
no offense, none at all.
I mean, because even in the book, the character's like, yeah, like, he has a good job and he makes good money.
She's like, but he's a mechanic. Like,
right.
how is his insurance that good?
Mm-hmm.
So it never really explains any of that. Like,
there's a lot of things that aren't explained in this book.
She even questions it, and it's like, okay, that's not explained.
Mm-mm.
So anyway, she tries to find, like, she writes the book based on her and James. I really wish it would have said, like, I figured out in my will that, I could leave the money somewhere else, not to Chris. It never mentioned it, but I'm like, you're making all that money.
I mean, if I literally, well, at that point, I'm pretty sure, like, it insinuated that she passed away. But, like, if he literally walked into the living room telling his, mistress, I'm going to sell the house when she's dead, I would have been like, absolutely fucking not. You're not in my will.
Yeah. Like, I hope she did that, like, low-key, like, took him out of her will.
Left it all to the nurse who was super nice and took care of her. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, couldn't he get charges on him for neglecting his wife in that
Honestly, I'm surprised that was an aspect of this book, too, because even when the legit Olivia is telling Estelle, like, I was thinking about adding in this other Inception part.
Yeah.
Like, they could have just added in a whole bunch more drama where the nurse is like, you know what, fuck this guy. Let's get him in trouble for being a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's neglect. That's straight up neglect. That's no different than if you go to, like, an old folks home and the people working there have neglected the elderly.
Which, I mean, even at the facility she was at before where she had decent care, like, she was still getting pressure sores and stuff. So, like,
yeah,
she was still being a little neglected there, as nice as that nurse was to her.
Yeah. Was it? Or Edmund?
Edmund? Yeah.
No, the doctor's name was Ernest. Or wait.
Yeah, Ernest. That was her name.
I think the nurse's name was Ernest, and the guy's name was Edmund. Yeah.
When Ernest was, like, flipping her, like, rotating her that one time, he's like, yeah, this pressure sore's getting even worse. I'm going to have to rotate you more. Well, should have already been doing that.
Right? So, basically
her, like, just, like, day-to-day life just sucked. She
got to write her book. I'm sure she made good money off that. But, I mean, what good is money when you have ALS?
Well, I mean, even at that point, too, she's like, why? I don't give a fuck. I'm just waiting to die.
I know, which was really sad because really she was just waiting to see James again, even though it was like a figment of her imagination.
Which I thought the ending was both sweet and weird. You get a lavender plant and then you're ready to pass away.
Yeah. And she kept saying what he said was like, we'll meet.
Which didn't even make sense. I mean, unless it was her brain trying to protect her.
I didn't get it either. I was a little confused there. I was like, I guess just maybe she's gonna die.
Well, and she kept saying, like, it was on a rainy afternoon that I got the call. So, like, I guess maybe she was waiting for a sign from her own brain / James and the book to make it to pass away.
Yeah, I mean, it was just weird. And then I guess she dies.
And, I mean, that's what I'm guessing.
She sees him outside shirtless.
Well, I mean, it literally says she walks to him, and so I'm assuming that means she passed away.
Yeah. She said, I looked at my body and I wasn't moving, which she wouldn't have been dead or alive moving.
I mean, yeah.
But she said he was standing outside near the tree shirtless. I was like, why is he shirtless? It's her imagination. I don't know. Whatever. If he's chiseled the way she says.
And then you find out it was all a
more Inception.
Fucked up book that Olivia wrote.
Yeah.
It's literally a book that she wanted to publish. She never, I mean, we talked about this a little before we started recording. I don't think she ever went to Paris.
Yeah, I don't think she did either. I don't remember it specifically saying, like, they met in Paris.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just met in New York because it doesn't talk about Paris when she finally talks about meeting James. I mean, because he literally would have had to have moved to the United States with her, and they just instantly move in together and hit it off. And
2 weeks. They moved in together after 2 weeks.
Then you find out the
It's
biggest
intense.
plot twist of all, which I feel like was super manipulation and probably pissed off a lot of readers. I mean, it pissed me off too because, like, don't do that. Don't say your kid died and use it to make money and then your kid's literally alive and well.
Yeah, why would you put that in a book?
That's so stupid. That was like...
Why couldn't it be,
It was so unnecessary.
Ugh, I didn't like that.
Yeah, that just disgusted me. Like,
I would never be like, my kid died.
Like, you literally tried to make money off of saying your kid died and that's the trauma you have, and...
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And the way we find out your child is alive is she's listening to you have sex with your husband, which is also disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And we see Estelle again from Friends. Which was Estelle.
And her case of cigarettes.
Yeah, doll. This episode's going to be short.
Well, I mean, this book was short because it was literally all sex for 250 pages, and then you have 100 pages of drama.
Yeah.
Nothing happens for like 250 pages other than sex.
Like, I even watched, like, some spoiler-free, before I read it, I watched some spoiler-free reactions, and people were freaking out.
I mean, like, maybe because it's like, oh, you didn't see plot twist after plot twist after plot twist. I can see people freaking out about that, but the plot twists themselves were dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like them. I mean, I was glad it was still a happily ever after.
So I don't know about you, but I don't know how you can be extremely talented at 2 different skills. Like, I'm great at sleeping and being a therapist. That's about it. So I don't know how you're going to become an extremely skilled assassin and an extremely skilled artist.
Yeah. Which I guess that was...
Oh, yeah. I was also going to say that was also super creepy. Like, here, I'm going to kill these really shitty people, and then I want to draw the saddest person from each funeral.
Yeah, it was just weird. I don't know how I feel about this book. Like, I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't like it.
Yes, I mean, I was certainly drawn in at points. Like, I literally did get drawn in, and I was invested in certain points. But I think getting to the very end, that's what made me so pissed off. Like, the book Olivia got fucked over, and then real life Olivia monetized her child fake dying.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I don't know.
Also, now that I'm talking about it, I kind of just realized, like, James, the artist, draws the saddest person from each funeral and then associates that to Olivia, who's actually had, like, real life trauma, and that's why he's attracted to her. I draw these people who I literally caused grief for, and now I see someone who's got grief, and now I'm in love with her.
Yeah.
And immediately start stalking.
Yes. Stalker, for sure.
How did she not get creeped out by that? Like, it's not just like...
And she kept leaving her front door open. I'm like, who does that?
Well, it's just like, she was creeped out by him knowing Chris. But, like, if it's literally like, oh, yeah, minutes after I saw him at the cafe, he's getting voice recordings of me. His whole phone is tailored around me. His code to get into his apartment is my name.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I thought it was creepy when I read it, but then I was like, so did you change it or what? Like, that just was weird. Well, so what do you give it? Like a rating?
I mean, I would recommend people reading it if they like smut and drama.
Extra smut.
Like, it's a decent book.
Smut on smut on smut.
I'll never read it a second time.
No.
But I did enjoy getting the chance to read it the first time.
Same. I give it like a 3.5.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
A 3 or a 3.5.
Yeah.
The ending kind of saved it until all the shittiness. So the drama with the assassin, that's what I'll say saved the book.
Yes. Yeah. That's how I felt about it too.
Yeah.
It was okay. I won't read it again. It didn't pull me in like I had hoped. I really am ready for a book. I love that when a book
just completely draws you in. It's so intense.
Like the After series, the very first time.
Well, and I think you kind of talked about It Ends With Us kind of pulled you in like that too.
Yes, that and Verity. There was a few books, I've read this year that like I stayed up and I read it in one evening. We haven't had a book like that yet, which, we've only been doing this, a month and a half.
Right.
So, we've still got a million books to read. We're going to be doing this until we die, basically.
I feel like I myself have a recommendation for a book I want to read because I watched the series on Netflix and the series itself is so good that I feel like I want to read the book.
What is it?
It's called The Chestnut Man. It's like a crime drama.
Okay.
It's good. It's in another language, so you have to watch the subtitles, but the book, I feel like, has to be good because the show itself, like, I binged it. It's only like 6 episodes, but I binged it. It was so good.
Okay. Well, yeah. That'll be fun to do down the road.
Which we've already got our next book recommended, which I really, like, I love that. I love that we're going to read a recommended book by one of our followers/listeners.
Yay! Our very first recommendation.
I know. And I'm excited because it sounds like it's a mystery, which after reading this, I kind of learned that maybe I'm not as into smut as I used to be. So I like that we're going to be switching back and forth.
I don't want to say I'm not into smut anymore.
I'm not.
But there was just like the level of smut was like a 10. And I'm more of like a 5. I really want the story.
You want like some good scenes, but
I want to feel their connection. I want to feel their chemistry versus basically they're just banging it out every other sentence.
66% of the book is literally that.
Yeah. So, I'm not saying I don't like smut. Romance I love romance. I love a good romantic novel. But this was like overkill with the smut. I was like, I eventually just was like skipping scenes.
Oh, yeah. I started skipping scenes.
I was like, I don't want to hear about your smacking your hoo-ha anymore. I mean, I get it. You enjoyed it. It's new. Move on. Let's do something different.
She made such a big deal about getting smacked on the butt. And then she's like, oh, yeah, also I, fantasized about you actually doing that, even though I have such a problem with it. But then also I love it, but I made a super huge deal out of it.
So don't just smack me on the butt. Smack me on my hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Smack me everywhere. Smack me across the face.
And then she smacks him in the face twice at the very end.
Yeah. Just smack me anywhere you want to smack me. Anyway. So that was Perfect Strangers by J.T. Geissinger?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. J.T. Geissinger.
3.3 to 3.5. We would say read it once at least.
Yeah, if you
give it a try.
If you like romance,
plot twist, weird
smut,
plot twist,
drama, and plot twist, I would give it a try. I mean, like it was a decent book.
Yeah, I just won't read it again.
Yeah,
I have no interest. But people in my book club on Facebook were posting about it. And then TikToks were about it. And I was
I
like,
feel
oh,
like
let's.
a lot of people these days are really in it for the smut. Like, they probably really liked how intense the smut got. And this book helped me learn that I'm not as into it as I thought I was.
Yeah, same here. Same here. All right. So, yeah. So, our next book is Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica.
Yeah.
Kubica.
I'm going to take your word for it.
Kubica. Okay. But yeah, like Sarah said, this was mentioned or recommended by one of our followers.
Yeah.
Miss Natasha. Thanks for the recommendation. It has a lot of great reviews. It is a mystery thriller. So I'm pretty excited. We actually did a poll on our Facebook last week where we were kind of trying to figure out what kind of books people are looking for.
Right.
Let me see if I can pull that up real fast just to gauge where we were at. And most of it was mystery. 100%. Not 100% liked. That came out wrong.
Yeah, I did see a lot of people were definitely into the mystery thriller.
Yes.
And like more romance, not smut. So
yeah,
maybe we'll try to find like a surface romance that's more about like, I don't know, maybe we could find like an enemies to lovers. I feel like those are both like juicy and
yeah. So we had 20% was romance, 43 was mystery, 14% was horror, 5% comedy, which I just threw that in, and 8% was psychological thriller, which I guess could be kind of thrown in with mystery.
So it sounds like mystery is our number one preference with a little bit of romance. So
yes. So we'll try and do a variety of stuff. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just feel like a lot of horror is also kind of mystery mixed in. So I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram, please do.
We also have a YouTube if you guys want to watch us instead of listen.
We just hang out, but we'd love for you to subscribe and watch.
Yes.
Let's see. Like, review, share. Please subscribe.
Interact with us.
Yeah, interact with us. You know, we need all the help we can get. We're a brand new podcast. We're trying to get up and get going.
We have the giveaway still going. We're
24 on Facebook. We're still really low on Instagram. So get on Instagram, like us, follow us. You know, every person, first 100 followers will be put into the Audible 3 months of Audible giveaway. So as soon as we hit 100 followers on Instagram and Facebook each, so you know, we'll be doing both of them. So like us on both, and that gives you two chances to win.
Right, yeah.
Let's see. We're on TikTok. We try and post videos. We're not that good at it.
We got some goofs on there.
Well, yeah, we're kind of funny. Just a little.
We're so funny.
We're hilarious. Let's see. Send in any recommendations. We love recommendations. Especially, you know, we've read a lot of stuff, but there's a million things we have not read. So we are open to just about anything.
I feel like that's it.
Okay. Wow, we didn't even hit an hour this time.
I don't feel like I had a lot to say about this book. I mean, it was pretty simple.
Well, when the first, 250 pages are just sex, I mean, what else is there to say?
Yeah, it's just experimental sex.
Oh, and we also are doing a second podcast called Crime, Booze, and Besties.
Yes.
It'll be true crime. I'll be doing true crime. Caitlin will be doing true crime. Sarah will be discussing
the paranormal.
We are actually getting ready to record it here in about 10 minutes.
Yes. So the next Wednesday this comes out, which is the 14th.
Yes.
Will also be our first episode of our True Crime Supernatural podcast.
Yay. So we
give that a listen too.
Yeah. We just were like, let's take every passion we have and let's just start talking on camera.
I mean, when we were trying to decide what we wanted to talk about most. We went with books because that's what started the duo.
Yes.
We added in the therapist aspect with the books, but the other big thing we were considering was true crime and supernatural.
Yes.
So
Let's just do both. Who says we can't?
exactly.
So, yeah. So we will have our very first episode of that next week, along with this episode discussing Perfect Strangers. And then, like we said, we'll be reading Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. Sure.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, like, share, subscribe,
And
follow us.
Oh, and we'll catch you next chapter, Smuts.
See ya.